I'm not just gonna stand here and wait. I wanna just decide what is to be my fate. Alone all by myself, I'm not just gonna stay here and wait.
Good morning, evening, and afternoon to everyone out there. This is Really Cool News at our new time slot, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. where it counts, and 3 p.m. on the East Coast, or West Coast, sorry. I'm obviously doing an unscripted recording right now after getting home from, I'd say, an interesting day of jury duty selection. Without identifying too much about where I live, I do live in the boonies. So it's beyond the boonies. It's what the boonies laugh at as the boonies. So if someone who's threatened to firebomb my house were ever to make it up here, I'd probably shake his hand because it is quite the trek. So yeah, we live far out here. So in the community, I get jury duty every 2 years or so, and I've never been selected. And today I was not selected, but it wasn't due to anything that I said in court because we didn't get that far. Today, for the first time in 20 something years of living up here, I missed the turn to go to downtown. I didn't think about it because I haven't been that way in a couple of years now. I just kept driving and realized, oh crap. So I went up to the next exit and thinking, okay, that's close enough to downtown. So just get off, go through the traffic circle, make the right. And I was too far down. I was on the right street, but way too far down for the courthouse. So I try to backtrack. And this is where I should have turned the GPS on to get me back on track. But I, of course, using my nonsense of direction, ended up making every wrong turn possible. I ended up across the river at one point, which is difficult to do because you do have to purposely cross a bridge. But I was on a one-way street when I didn't even know there was a bridge there. I found my way back, ended up again being too far down the street to get to the courthouse or the parking for the courthouse. So I ended up going up, turning around, finding myself the way back, eventually finding the supermarket where I should have turned at originally or come out at if I took that exit, and found my way to the courtroom with maybe a minute to spare. And that was just getting in through security and up to the line. Took another 5 minutes to fill out the paperwork because I had lost my paperwork. And then there was actually one guy who was later than I was. As I rushed through my paperwork and went in, he was calmly doing his paperwork like it didn't matter. So I go into the jury room. There's already about 90 people there. I put up my form where it's supposed to be. Get to the back. There's no room. There's no room in that room. So they put the stragglers in a tiny little office, but it's got a private bathroom, and the air conditioner is working there when it wasn't in the main room. And we sit for 10 minutes, and we hear instructions that they're going to call the first 45 people. And we're like, okay, first 45? and they say, okay, first 45 is going to go, and you're going to go into court, and then the rest of you are standby. And we're thinking, how are they going to pick the first 45, or is it random or something? No, they literally took the first 45 people who had put their paper on the pile. So for 2 hours, we sat in that little air conditioned office with our little private bathroom and had a grand old time because we knew that the guy behind me was like number 90 and I was number 89. And there was no chance in hell, even if they couldn't find a jury from the first 45 people, that they'd ever get to our numbers if they were taking the next 20 or whatever. There would have had to been a serious emergency or something for us to get picked for the bank of 12 jurors they were looking for today. So that's it. We got out of jury duty. I probably will be called again next year. It's just a thing that happens. You get called a lot when you're living in a remote town such as this. And frankly, I guess it was a good time, but I wouldn't want to do it again. At least not for another 2 years. Maybe then I'll be on a jury, and maybe then I'll be more knowledgeable of how to get out, get there late, and not have to serve. Because as much as I do know it's a requirement, I'm not cut out to be on a jury. I'm just not. There's too much of the impulse in me to ask questions that would delay things forever. And that's not doing anyone any good. Anyway, we've got a number of stories today. I think we have 4 in total, and then we go into best of or last year, look back at last year. Again, these are unscripted comments for this first segment, so I'm all over the place. Yeah, anytime we don't have an op-ed, we'll be looking back 1 year ago today, and this is a good one. Floyd and Chili walking together through the streets of Las Vegas on their way to file Floyd's ill-fated federal civil rights lawsuit. It started off a dramatic summer for the pair, and we'll get into it after the news. So with that, we're going to start with the story. Be back after the bumper. No winners again in GoFundMe tracking. There were no winners again in Sunday's GoFundMe tracking as all of the major players in the auditing industry failed to connect with their audiences in promoting their ongoing campaigns. Jose Chili de Castro, despite having a live stream on his channel on Saturday by Associated Michael Eline and a 14-minute address to his followers released on Sunday, failed to have his campaigns promoted with direct URLs provided to his audience. Eline's show regularly ignores issues important to DeCastro, especially his fundraising needs, as DeCastro is desperate in need of funding to promote his petty feud with YouTuber Merb and his own products. The attorney regularly ignores DeCastro's needs to instead promote his You Can Be an Attorney Without Law School program to DeCastro's audience. Reaching hundreds of thousands of subscribers more than his own channel, Eline has used every opportunity to make money through that exposure. Brian Hears the Deal Young, another of DeCastro's fill-in hosts, has also routinely ignored DeCastro's campaigns, only briefly touching on DeCastro's products and YouFundMe campaigns, but failing to provide URLs or pitches to help DeCastro in his time of need. Young's status as replacement host may be up in the air, as Eline seems to have taken over primary duties as DeCastro's replacement. Young's last appearance on the channel, a poorly received live stream interview with Brandon J. Williams, saw 8,400 viewers in the 2 weeks since its release. With 76 days to go until DeCastro's scheduled release from incarceration, it'll be interesting to see what changes DeCastro will be making to his coverage and if they will result in increased participation in his crowdfunding campaigns. Evidence in DeCastro appeal shows George Floyd connection. A newly released document from Jose Chile de Castro's appeal of his recent Las Vegas conviction for interference in a traffic stop and obstructing an officer showed more evidence that de Castro indeed will compare his plight to that of George Floyd in his appeal. The motion by de Castro's lawyer, Christopher R. Oram, seeks to introduce photos of the George Floyd crime scene in comparison to captures taken by de Castro's video of his arrest by Brandon Bork in March 2023 in Las Vegas. Orum's filing had previously mentioned the similarity of the George Floyd case, as bystanders were not allowed to film in close proximity of the officers who were detaining and later found to have killed Floyd back in 2020. The key difference admitted by Oram is that the officer involved in DeCastro's arrest made it clear that he was not obstructing DeCastro's right to film, but simply asking DeCastro to step a safe distance away from the traffic stop so Bork could work safely in proximity of the stop driver. It is currently unclear why Oram has invested so much time in introducing the evidence of the Minnesota incident involving Floyd, as it has no legal bearing on the Nevada arrest of DeCastro. While inflammatory, it introduces nothing of legal value to the argument that Officer Bork acted inappropriately under Nevada law, resulting in the arrest of DeCastro. The next hearing in DeCastro's appeal is set for May 23, 2024, and centers around a petition by DeCastro to have his appeals brief extended from the court's limit of 10 pages to 29 pages. If you would like to help contribute to the purchasing of documents on behalf of our news stories, please see how to contribute in the scroll below. The cost of the document featured in this news story alone exceeded $12, and all contributions would be greatly appreciated. Glenn Serio continues live stream rampage. New reports from Seattle-based Discord user Touche indicate that Glenn Serio again live-streamed on Sunday while driving recklessly through the Seattle area, taking viewers on a tour of sites associated with his previous crimes in the area. In the now private live stream, Serio took his viewers on to Highway 99 in Linwood, Washington, then to Everett, Washington, where he passed the jail he served 5 days in as part of a plea deal in late 2022. Serio ignored the jail and his time in it, despite reminders in his chat of the terms and conditions of his beating all of his charges that required him to serve jail time and to provide the court with evidence that he received moral counseling. Continuing his tour of Everett, Serio reportedly continued to livestream and drive through the Section 8 area of the city, which is devoted to low-income housing, showing his fans the spot where he was previously pulled over on a reckless driving ticket. The YouTuber inadvertently ended his live stream with a quick drive by the Denny Juvenile Justice Center. Serio, noting that the center was closed on the weekend, claimed that he had suffered bullying at the hands of police at the center as a teenager. He reportedly began blowing through stop signs after that in an apparent attempt to provoke a reaction from police before quickly losing his signal and then removing the stream from public view. We'll have more on Glenn Serio later in the week if he continues to live stream. De Castro attacks Darcy in latest address. There were no real surprises in Jose Chile de Castro's latest address on Saturday as he compared his current incarceration with anti-slavery legislation. He then called on his followers to continue to petition the judges involved in his conviction and apparently took a shot at Patrick J. Darcy in the process. Attorney and YouTuber Patrick J. Darcy has been both helpful to and critical of DeCastro's most recent filings. DeCastro's video on the deficiencies in the prosecution of DeCastro's case that resulted in his most recent conviction, for example, was apparently used as a template for DeCastro's appeal document. However, DeCastro has taken issue with Darcy's criticism of his attempts to petition the court and warned that DeCastro could be held liable for the actions of his followers who have allegedly threatened Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman for her sentencing of DeCastro to 180 days in jail. After repeating his history of the attempts to ban anti slavery petitioning in America, DeCastro briefly touched on Japanese internment camps during World War II before reminding his fans that he continues to need them to petition both Justice of the Peace Zimmerman and Judge Michelle Levitt, who is handling the appeal in the case. While not naming Darcy directly, DeCastro went on a rant against men in suit and ties who would discourage petitioning in the case as they have no regard for the law or his freedom and are only after YouTube clicks and views. He continued his attack while claiming that those men have no purpose, while he is guided by the sole purpose of overturning the Supreme Court's Terry versus Ohio decision, which he sees as the cause of destruction of the rights of all Americans as it turns over too much power to the government. DeCastro then claimed that he was only in the Clark County Detention Dungeon because he was arrested for filming a police officer and that people are being misled about their rights to petition on his behalf. The YouTuber urged his fans to ignore negativity as he ended his statement, again urging his fans to petition both Justice of the Peace Zimmerman for his release and Justice Levitt to allow the extension of his appeals brief from the court's rules of 10 pages to an expanded size of 29 pages. A hearing on the extension is scheduled for later this week. Our top stories on Really Cool site for May 20th, 2023 included news on Floyd Wallace's screw up in his attempt to file his federal civil rights lawsuit against the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and Reagan Benson's disappointing attack video on Inglewood City Attorney Ian Griffin. Starting with the Wallace story, May of last year saw Floyd Wallace enter in an alliance of sorts with Jose Chili de Castro following Floyd's arrest for attempted trespass at a police precinct in Las Vegas suburb. Smelling opportunity, De Castro almost immediately cloned his existing lawsuit, switched a few facts around to apply them to Wallace's case, and after crowdfunding for $400 in the filing fee, he and Wallace went down to file the lawsuit in downtown Las Vegas, when Wallace forgot his ID and was not allowed in the building. A fuming De Castro blamed the illegal and immoral practices of demanding an ID at the courthouse for the denial of entry and would later quietly file the case on Wallace's behalf outside of Wallace's presence. Regan Benson live streamed on May 20th, 2023, as she picked up a thumb drive containing what she said was damning evidence of inappropriate conduct involving then Inglewood, Colorado City Attorney Ian Griffin. The incident happened at a court hearing for Benson's client, Shannon Moore. Griffin handed Benson a subpoena to appear before the Colorado Supreme Court's Unauthorized Practice of Law Committee for practicing law without a license. While Benson promised a dramatic moment between the two where Griffin threw the subpoena in her face during the hearing, it turned out to be anything but. In the released video, Griffin simply handed Benson the document, and Benson left without incident. According to Benson, the charges before the committee were recently dropped, and Ian Griffin has taken another job outside of the Inglewood city government. On the same broadcast, Benson announced that she had been awarded the remains of Jesse, a homeless man that she had been housing in a hotel in Denver before the pair had dramatically split last year, and he was later found dead after an apparent relapse. Benson announced that she would be putting the bulk of his ashes on the mantle above her fireplace, while she would have a portion of his remains put in a vial that would be placed in a necklace that she would wear for inspiration. While occasionally wearing the pendant, Benson has not mentioned Jesse or his inspiration in more recent live streams. And that's it for our first daily broadcast at our new time. I'm glad that so many of you have made the change with us, and I hope that you'll stay with us every day at this time moving forward. I'll be joined by Phil and Hank tomorrow morning for Karen Reed murder trial coverage starting at 8:55 a.m. Eastern, and we're set for a half day of coverage in the trial tomorrow. It's a big week for the defense in the case as they'll be cross-examining Jen McCabe, who Turtle Boy has painted as the criminal mastermind behind the framing of Karen Reed. Copies of these stories in audio fashion should be available over on our YouTube page. And as always, you can find the stories first on our website at reallycoolsite.org. That's reallycoolsite.org. Thank you again for being with us tonight, and we'll see you again tomorrow.